Hey guys, welcome to the RAMZPAUL show. It is Wednesday, November 27th. It's great to be here. It's Thanksgiving Eve. I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving plan. It sounds like a perfect Thanksgiving for me because it's just going to be Sasha and myself and maybe one or two friends, and that is great. So no running around visiting various people. I remember when I was young, it was a weird thing because my parents were divorced, and I would have to like have Thanksgiving dinner with my dad and say my stepmother. Then I would go up to Longmont, Colorado. That was my grandparents who I really adored. And then the evening I'd go back to see my mother. And it's tough. It's tough, right? Because I was kind of a skinny kid. I didn't eat a lot. So it's like everyone wants a huge dinner on that day. And it's like, no, no more. I can't do it. No mas, no mas. So this is easy. I'm just going to kick back tomorrow, take it easy. Well, in the early part of the day, we're putting up the Christmas tree. So we're going to pull the Christmas tree out and all the decorations because we decorate the place on Thanksgiving. And then we'll have the dinner in the afternoon, I guess. And it should be a lot of fun. I think Sasha will go home tomorrow night. And maybe we will do night owls on Thursday night. I don't know. I have to ask her still. She hasn't said. She's been off this week, so she's been enjoying that. We were laying some tile on her new shed she got. She did most of the work, but I helped a little bit. And so she's been like going. And that's one of the things that's different between, I think, women and men. Men just kind of like chill out and do anything and don't, when we have a holiday, it's just like, okay, I'm going to sit here with a beer and just take it easy, watch some sports or something. But women are all into activities, and that's a good thing. It makes things go around, and they're always busy 24/7, and it exhausts me. I mean, she's so busy, so she's right now playing, she's got Switch. She bought herself a Switch game and she's having a lot of fun playing those games. So, see, girls play computer games just a little bit different than guys do. We play like Call of Duty. I think she's playing the new Mario Brothers, but she said it's a lot of fun. She's having a lot of fun with it. So that's cool. And if you guys saw today on my X feed, today's show's going to be a little bit different. We were out, we got like the turkey and did some shopping, went back to Fayetteville, and then we went to Huntsville, if you guys know where that is, in Arkansas. It's a real small town, but it has a lot of charm. And we went to a couple of, because Sasha likes to donate blankets to animal rescue places. And then we look at the cats and dogs. And of course, Sasha wants to adopt everything. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And she saw this 1-year-old husky. And that's why I tweeted about it. How are huskies? Because I know huskies tend to be high maintenance dogs a little bit. But they're loyal dogs. My son, he's got a husky mix. And I think it's a purebred husky he has. And his dog he loves are really close, but I don't know how the dog would react to our little dog. And Sasha has cats. And then I like right now Button, a little dog I just let out my front door. I live on a couple acres, and she never leaves my property, even though she could, right? There's barbed wire fence around, but she could leave where my driveway leads out, but she never does. And I heard Husky's able to just bolt and run for miles. And I don't want to have to deal with that because we don't have like a big fence to keep a Husky in. So I don't think we'll do that. But it's cool. Like I love dogs. I like to read about the different dog breeds, which really is red pilling because just like we have different dog breeds, even though they're all dogs, we have different human ethnicities and races. And we don't assume every dog breed has the exact same intelligence or behavior. Huskies have a very different behavior than, let's say, a bloodhound versus a German Shepherd, because dogs have been bred to do a certain type of activity. Oh, the other dog I liked that if I didn't have Button and I was alone, I'd probably get. It's called a mountain cur dog. They're dogs that were, I think, developed or bred in America, specifically kind of where I live or in the Appalachia, like West Virginia, Kentucky, and in the mountains of like Appalachia and the hollers. And they're really good dogs. They were used for hunting, kind of a hound mix, very protected dogs. But again, I don't know about that. So that's what we did today. And we'll probably go look at Christmas lights sometime later this week. In Fayetteville, I don't know the cities where you guys live, but in Fayetteville, they have a square downtown where they light up. It's really pretty. So we'll probably go there. It's kind of a tradition. And that's one of the things I loved in Budapest when I lived there. Christmas was really a wonderful time. They had a Christmas market and the hot cider and the whole bit. I just love that sense of community. And I'm getting a sense that people are getting back to saying Christmas versus Happy Holidays. That just is horrible. So I think we're getting back to that. I think the whole woke madness, I don't think it's going away totally, but it has been scaled back a lot. It's like there was this hysteria of wokeness, and I think it was due to many factors that really kind of started to build with Obama, and then people just freaked out with Trump, and then you had COVID, where people went insane and panicking about nothing, and then you had, St. George Floyd. I'm like, this guy's a thug. They had an overdose. Oh, worship the blacks. It was just like, what the hell? And everything got super woke. And then not only the homosexual marriage, it's like, no, men wearing dresses. Yes. Oh, we honor you. And I think that spell has finally broken. It's like, God, what were we thinking collectively? I was never under that spell, but a lot of people were. So I'm hopeful things are getting a little bit better. And we'll look at this. I discussed yesterday how many corporations have abandoned their DEI stuff. Walmart says they're not going to do the DEI education anymore, and they're going to scale back the pride stuff, which they should. No matter what your thoughts on that, you shouldn't be promoting sex acts as part of your corporate marketing. It's just ridiculous. And all the trans stuff they're moving away from. So I see a lot of positives coming out of this. So I think that's good. There's reasons to be optimistic. I know it's easy to be always black-pilled. But sometimes things are reported wrong. And it starts out with some like rumor and it gets reported as a fact. And the mainstream media does this all the time. Like the whole, we're going to escalate the war in Russia. I was reading that more specifically and where that all came from. And a lot of this was just someone gave their opinion. And then that became like the official United States policy. The media had it. And it really wasn't. For example, I reported on because the mainstream media reported that France and England were thinking about sending troops into Ukraine. I'm like, wow, this is a horrible escalation, right? But then you look at the details. That's not what they said. They said, we may send troops in Ukraine after there's a peace and as part of, let's say, the peace process to have people, I don't know, the demilitarized zone. And they said something like that, maybe we'll send troops in. So it was totally misconstrued. And I know people like Alex Jones every night, oh my God, World War III is happening. Isn't it? Oh, we're going to die. Because that gets a lot of clicks. I get it. But it never happens. It's like, what do you guys... And I'm not picking on Alex Jones, but if someone is always crying wolf, getting back to dogs, over and over and over, and it never happens, wouldn't you eventually think this guy's full of shit? I mean, yeah, I would, but it doesn't seem to matter. Every night there could be a minor missile attack. Oh, this is it. I hope you've stocked up on my supply of brain juice because this is it. We're all going to die. And it never happens. Nothing ever happens, really. So I don't think there's going to be nuclear war before January 20th. Putin understands. There's a lot of rhetoric going around. Russia's winning. They don't have to do anything that drastic. And so I'm a little bit optimistic about some of this stuff. But, it's good to be skeptical. I get that. And hey, guys, it's good to see you all here. Thank you so much. Oh, if you're new to the show, we do this every Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Central. And I stream both on YouTube, Rumble, and on X. And I would appreciate if you guys all follow me on YouTube, Rumble, and X. I want to get back to getting back to my short videos. I've been busy with other stuff. I want to get more discipline on doing that now. Especially once the Thanksgiving ends, I will start doing that again. But if you could follow me, I do appreciate that. And if you want to interact with the show, YouTube has Super Chats, Rumble has rants, and there's Powerchats here. And what else? Oh, yeah, Stream Elements has a tip feature, and I really do appreciate it. I'm not backed by anyone, so any amount of money you can give or have a question, it helps with the show, and I do appreciate that. So thank you. All right, I guess we'll get into it. We'll just get into it. This initially blackpilled me because I thought this was recent, but this was not recent. Someone looked into it like, well, when was this statement made? I have water in case you know what I'm drinking. I like pop, but there's a lot of calories, so I try to drink my bubbly water now. So this was actually back in February of 23, I think. So it's been over like almost 2 years because I thought this was recent. I was really blackpilled and I'm still concerned. But let's take a look at this here. This is the person, Keith Kellogg, who Trump just named Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia. So let's listen to him, what he had to say back in the day.
Bottom line, the Ukrainians want to fight. They don't want U.S. troops. They don't want NATO troops.
They very much want U.S. troops and NATO troops. They're trying to provoke that.
All they want is equipment, and they're going to fight this to the end. It's very
well, to the end will be defeat because they're losing. They don't have men to fight anymore. And Russia outproduces NATO because they haven't outsourced all their factories.
Very clear to them that this is a very aggressive Russia move. It's targeted on civilians.
It's not targeted on civilians. Actually, Russia has pretty much avoided civilian casualties. It's not been 100%, but it's not like comparing it to Israel, where Israel just slaughters civilians. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like a rah Palestinians, or, I'm not a big fan of them. But Israel does slaughter civilians. That's who they target. Russia hasn't done that.
Is targeted on infrastructure. We went out pretty far to the northeast, and we saw some absolute incredible destruction out there by the Russians. And it was targeted on infrastructure. It was targeted on
infrastructure, but that's a valid target.
Hospitals. It was targeted on schools. In fact, the mayor.
Russia's not targeting on hospitals and schools. That's a propaganda point. Why would they do that anyway? Why would Russians just think about this logically? Why would Russians, because they're just, I'm a cartoon villain, these precious rockets. No, I don't want to send my rockets to a troop concentrations. Someone would say, well, Vladimir, should we send it to their factories? No. Should we attack their artillery bases? No. Airfields? No. No. I want them to attack the schools. Attack the schools. I don't care how much it costs. Let's waste our precious missiles on schools. Of course, it's ridiculous. It never has happened.
Mayor of Kyiv told us later.
It's Kiev, not Kyiv.
That this is genocide. And I think when we look at what's going to happen over there, I believe it's very important we get them the equipment to fight. Because I think now we're right on the cusp. And I think
we gave them the equipment. And this was, again, I didn't know when this was. I was blackpilled because I first thought he just recently did this. Because Trump nominated this guy. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. But this was in February, I heard, of 2023. So almost... because it's going to be in a few months, right? Today, this is November, so it's December, January, February. We're 3 months from it being 2 years. So it's almost been 2 years.
think it's going to come out probably in just a couple of months when we get into the spring, into the summer, and then into the fall. This is going to be a fight to the end. The Ukrainians are not going to negotiate. They have no intention to negotiate.
Well, back then maybe they didn't, but they have no choice at this point. Because this isn't really a fight with Ukrainians. We're using Ukrainian bodies. It's sad, but they were a pawn. This is a globalist war that really started in 2014 when Victoria Nuland and all those neocons, they conducted a coup against the democratically elected president of Ukraine, who was friendly with Russia. They did not like it because they don't like Russia. And their end goal is to destroy Russia, break it apart, get BlackRock in there to buy up all the minerals and everything else, push gay pride parades in Moscow, tell little Russian boys, Ivan, you're actually a girl. Let's cut off your balls. That's what they want. Oh, then to teach the Russians that they should feel guilty about their whiteness and they need to bring in a lot of Africans to mate with their women. That's the goal. That's the reason for the war.
They want to eject Russian forces from Ukraine. I don't care if it's a Donbass. I don't care if it's Crimea.
It's not going to happen. Crimea has historically always been Russia, and Donbass, is majority Russian people that live there, ethnic Russians, and they voted. Do you guys want to remain part of Ukraine, independent, or Russia, or part of Russia? They voted for Russia.
And they're committed to it. And I talk to a lot of government officials, military officials, civilians that are out there. It's a very committed nation. If anybody doubts their loyalty to Ukraine, they're badly mistaken. And again, as I said, I think it's a fight to the finish.
Well, you've been right along the way here. In general, the only thing is, if they're adamant about not giving up an inch of land or letting the Russians have an inch of land, Vladimir Putin is equally adamant about unleashing holy hell on civilians. He's not going anywhere. What's the end game here?
Yeah, here's what I think the end game is, Neil. I think evicting the Russians from Ukraine, I think they've got the capacity to do it, the Ukrainians.
Well, this was 2 years ago. We found out this guy's full of shit. And that's important because he's just been nominated by Trump. And we see here, he's supposed to be the expert. And I knew better back then than this guy. This guy turns out to be full of shit. It's just objectively true. It hasn't happened.
With their fighting spirit, as long as we give them the kid. Because I think they've got the Russians at least at a stalemate and possibly on their heels. And I think why this is important geostrategically. If the Ukrainians can defeat Russia in the field and eject them from the Donbass or Crimea, Putin falls. And it changes Europe for a generation to come. People need to realize Ukraine is the second largest country in Europe. I mean, I saw that just driving it. And they're very committed to freedom and democracy.
Well, they're not, they don't have freedom or democracy in Kiev. Zelensky, he canceled the elections. He's a dictator. If you criticize him in the media, you're arrested. He killed Coach Red Pill, an American, because Coach Red Pill said things he didn't like. These guys are crooks. Most of them they take millions of our tax dollars for own personal reasons. His wife, when she was in New York City, spent $1 million on a shopping spree. These are crooks.
They recognize they've got some issues with things that have happened in the past, with illegal activities going on. They understand that. They're trying to correct it. But boy, I'll tell you, their military is a fighting military. I saw it firsthand. We got pretty darn close to the area where what they call the zero line is, which is we used to call the line of contact. And there's no doubt in my mind that they're committed to this fight and fight to the end. So one of these two sides is going to win. I don't think
Russia.
there's going to be anything to negotiate. I don't think there's going to be any negotiations, despite what people want to talk about. Zelensky's not going to do it, and neither's Putin.
Zelensky's irrelevant. Trump could have Zelensky disappear. It's kind of, do you guys ever see that movie, The Irishman? If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. And that one guy, when The Irishman, he didn't know he did like a fire bombing for some guy. And he thought he was just doing it against, the guy said, oh, a bunch of Jews own it, no big deal. But it turned out that part of the interest was this big mafia guy in New York City. And the big mafia guy just asked him about it. He goes, I had no idea. I wouldn't have done this if I knew, if you were and it ran it. Yeah, I'm so sorry. And I think, and he said, well, who gave you the orders to do this? And he go, oh, this guy named Whispers, I guess is some guy they knew. And so he said, I don't want any trouble. I'll just give Whispers his money back. And the mafia guy says, keep the money. He won't be needing it. And, you know, the guy's like, Robert De Niro played the part. No, I'll give the money back. The big mafia guy, he won't be needing the money. Meaning he's dead. And so Zelensky won't be a problem. You know, we could have him disappear quite easily. So this will be determined by negotiations now. Now, this guy, to be fair, was 2 years ago, but still he was full of shit and wrong. So I don't want someone that's full of shit and wrong in this position, right? We got to hold people accountable. I don't know why we never do. We never do. I mean, they make these proclamations, and then they turn out they're fake or wrong. Maybe they were just wrong, but okay, I get another job. You've shown yourself that you're not qualified, that your opinion is not correct. And he was a general, but he didn't know what the shit he's talking about. I mean, he doesn't need to be in this position. So the question is, number one, why has Donald Trump nominated this guy when he's been so wrong in the past? And is he now disavowing these views? Like, yeah, I was full of shit. I didn't know what I was talking about. Or I don't know, because you could nominate a lot of people. And this is getting me a little bit scared that we're going down that road like his first administration, where Trump appoints a bunch of people that go after his own interests. I will always remember, I think I was streaming. It was when Trump nominated John Bolton. Remember, he went through a lot of people and then he hired John Bolton. I'm like, what are you talking about? John Bolton, the guy's fucking crazy. And you know who else agreed with me? Afterwards, Trump had to fire him. And Trump's like, man, this guy, he's a crazy son of a bitch. Why did, I'm like, you hired him? We all knew it. It's not like it's a surprise. So they should have vetted this Keith Kellogg and said, yeah, Keith Kellogg 2 years ago was saying, oh, there won't be any negotiations. Ukraine's kicking their ass. Putin's targeting kindergartens. Yeah, you're fucking bullshit propaganda artist. Get out of here. Get out of here. I mean, what are you going to do now? They're killing all the Ukrainians with masturbation machines. I mean, whatever. I mean, this bullshit. We don't need someone like that in there. We need someone that's serious. And it bothers me that Trump has picked this guy. And maybe Keith, is saying, I've changed my mind. There will have to be, some negotiations. But we didn't vote. I didn't vote for endless warfare with Ukraine. And Trump was pretty insistent before the election that he was going to end that. And there's been so much bloodshed, it needs to end. There needs to be negotiations. So maybe this is a 4D chess thing where Trump's putting a hardline guy in there to say, see, Putin, you better work with us. Otherwise, I have these crazies that really want to end the world. But I don't like it. I'll be honest, I don't like it. Now, there's a lot of a lot of picks I do like, but I'm not a big fan of that pick. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. But I hope it's okay because Trump makes the final decisions. But it's disturbing. It is disturbing. So, all right. Let's see here. So that's General Keith Kellogg. Let's take a look more. Ron Paul covers something about this guy, Lindsey Graham. Let's take a look at Lindsey Graham. Hey guys, so thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you being here. Here we go. Lindsey Graham, here we go.
The headline.
This is Ron Paul. By the way, I love Ron Paul.
For this article, says, Gleeful Graham, Ukraine war all about money. Can you believe that?
Yeah, told the truth.
And this comes from Responsible Statecraft, and they're reliable to relate to us many good tidbits. But this,
I remember that where Lindsey Graham, he said, he probably regrets saying it, but he was saying that this one of the reasons for the whole war in Ukraine, it has to do with us wanting to secure a lot of the minerals and other things. And BlackRock and all these corrupt corporations, they've invested a lot in Ukraine. And if Ukraine should lose, they're not going to get paid back.
This is disgusting. I found it outrageous, and I think I mentioned a few things like immoral, wicked, unpatriotic.
Well, when you're talking immoral and wicked with Senator Graham, I don't know. Senator Graham seems like a weird dude to me, and he's one of those guys that just goes crazy whenever you talk about Israel. Just loves Israel. Oh, I'll do anything for you, Israel. I swear they have pics of that guy. I just imagine they do in compromising positions. And as I said on Twitter, I don't think it's compromising positions with young girls. I'm just saying that. It's something else. And because he acts like he's being blackmailed.
Unconstitutional, it's just bad manners.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's listen to Senator Graham himself, who spilled the beans.
This war is about money. People don't talk much about it, but you know the richest country in all of Europe for rare earth minerals is Ukraine. $2 to $7 trillion worth of minerals that are rare earth minerals.
A lot of them are in the Donbass too.
It's very relevant to the 21st century.
We're not getting them back. That's just not happening. And it's not like, I think a lot of people have a false assumption. If you have a false assumption, everything else goes really bad quick. They have the assumption that the United States can easily kick anyone's ass and, there's nothing you could do about it. Hoorah! Hoorah! Right? That's what we think. That may not be true. So even if we gave, because there's no way we're sending troops over there. That's not going to happen. No one in this country wants to fight for that bullshit. And what do we have in the military now? A bunch of women, men that wear dresses. And, Trump, to be his credit, he's supposed to kick out the men that wear dresses. But it's not your dad's military like 50 years ago where it's 90% white. It's had huge DEI. It's very incompetent. We've fallen behind in the technological race. Like, we don't have these sophisticated hypersonic missiles like Russia has or China. So the idea that, we could just kick their ass. So if they don't like it, we'll just push them out of the Donbass. Well, it would be a really bad look if Trump says, we're going all in. We're throwing the kitchen sink in. I don't care if we bankrupt America. And what if we do that and Russia still wins? It's not a good look. Not a good look.
Ukraine's ready to do a deal with us, not the Russians. So it's in our interest to make sure that Russia doesn't take over the place. It's the breadbasket of really the developing world. 50% of all the food going to Africa comes out of Ukraine.
Well, another reason to shut it down. We don't need to send food to Africa. It's sort of like in Yellowstone Park. Don't feed the wildlife. Africans, it's a warm continent. They get plenty of rain. Rhodesia used to, before it came under black rule, it was a breadbasket. Same with South Africa. They just need to work on it themselves. They don't need white supremacy to take over them, not colonization. No. The prime directive, like Star Trek said, don't mess with the natives. Just let nature deal with it.
We can make money and have an economic relationship with Ukraine to be very beneficial to us with peace. So Donald Trump's going to do a deal to get our money back, to enrich ourselves with rare earth minerals.
This guy is just crazy if he thinks we're getting... Putin is not giving up the Donbass because they consider that there's the people there are ethnically Russian. It's just not going to happen. I don't see a scenario where that will happen. Putin is not giving up Crimea. See, this is the whole problem. Everyone says make a deal, but you have to understand where the person you're negotiating with, where they stand in the strength, right? So, and this is anything in life. Like if you're really desperate for a deal and the other person isn't, like Sasha owns a lot of land. I guess I do now too. but people are always asking to buy it. But if she's in no hurry to sell, she's got the upper hand. She's like, no, I don't have to, accept your offer. I could go to this guy and get more money. Well, what are you talking about? And Putin's in that position. Putin is in the strong position in that, hey, I'm winning this war. We have most of the Donbass now, like 80, 90%, and they soon will have it all. They have Crimea. So why should they negotiate on that? What are you really going to negotiate with them? Oh, we'll lift the sanctions. Russia's doing better ever since the sanctions were enacted because we are not the only country. They're trading big time with China, with India, with Brazil, the whole BRICS thing. They're not hurting. They're doing better. In fact, in many ways, they became stronger because they were able to not depend on international trade. They developed their own industry, which, by the way, we should do in the United States with tariffs. But Russia was forced into it. They're making their own economic system. So they're in a better position now than they were before the war. And their army is not fewer people, it's more people. Their army is stronger and they got a lot of combat experience. So what do you negotiate there? They don't have to do this. Now, I think Putin would like to end it. I don't think Putin, despite all the propaganda, oh, he's Hitler, he wants to take over the world. Well, Hitler didn't want to take over the world. So Hitler wasn't even Hitler. But Putin does not want to take over the world. He doesn't want to take over Germany or England or any other Islamic country. That's not what he's interested in. He said from the beginning, it's mostly Eastern Ukraine. Historic reasons. And Crimea, they already have. And so that's it. He's going to want Donbass. That's a given. And there's not shit we can do about it. Again, you could go, oorah, oorah. We're not getting them out of there. They're too strong. And so we're not going to use nukes. Even Trump thinks that's crazy. So they're winning. So why should they negotiate? And he doesn't really care about the sanctions. I think he would like to have them lifted, but it's really no big deal. So what are you negotiating here? The negotiation has to be, okay, Putin, you get the Donbass, you get Crimea, and your other demand was NATO, that Ukraine doesn't become part of NATO. Well, that's not a big one. I mean, we could agree with that. And then the fourth one is kind of nebulous, what he called denazification of Ukraine. And what he means by that, I think, is to really reduce the armed forces in Ukraine. And that's basically the only settlement I think Putin will take, is like, okay, we keep the Donbass, we keep Crimea. You promised Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO, and Ukraine needs to demilitarize and just have a small army. And that's it. I think he would agree to those terms. But, otherwise there's not much that can be done, I don't think.
A good deal for Ukraine and us, and he's going to bring peace. And Biden's been a disaster when it comes to containing bad guys.
So Biden has.
I hate that word bad guys. It's so infantile. The world is not good guys, bad guys. It's not a Marvel movie.
Hasn't done anything for Ukraine, only $200 billion. Estimates, and I think these are very, very low ball, that 1 million people have either died or been injured. The combination, I think that's a low ball.
Yeah, but now Lindsey Graham hasn't been hurt, so what does he give a shit? These people, they don't give a shit. They're sociopaths. They really don't care. Now, if his ass was on the line, he would start to care, but now he doesn't care right now.
The Ukraine war. And here, with the most callous attitude, Lindsey Graham doesn't care. He's even been on record saying that let him fight to the last Ukrainian. We don't care.
No, he doesn't care.
He also said they're killing Russians. That's a good thing. But, in a sane world, someone like Lindsey Graham who says something like this would be drummed out of polite society. That kind of language reserved for thugs.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I agree. I agree with the Ron Paul show. And it was Lindsey Graham. He is an odious creature. And it's a shame we have to have he's just like Liz Cheney on that way. All right, let's get some other good breaking news. I mean, that wasn't good news. So I hope Trump stands firm and ends this and understands the reality of the situation. And we're not going to be defeating Russia. I mean, that bridge has sailed. when they decided to DEI the military and we ship out all our manufacturing. This isn't the same country. Breaking. This is the governor of Texas. All right. The Federal Court of Appeals has ruled that Texas has the right to build razor wire border wall that we have constructed to deny illegal entry into our state, and Biden was wrong to cut our razor wire. We continue to add more razor wire border barrier. So this is actually good news, because if you guys remember, Biden and Kamala Harris decided, open the border, bring in all these horrible people. Come on in, free welfare, we'll pay your medical expenses. Fuck Americans, come on in because you'll vote for Democrats. And we don't have to live around you. We're in gated communities, but fuck Americans, they'll just have to take you. That's what they did. And Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is like, we can't handle this in Texas, so we'll put up our own border wall if the United States, the federal government won't. It's not a wall, it's a razor wire. And Biden said, no, you can't do that. We gotta allow Juan to come in illegally. And what if he wants a free sex change? He needs to come here so we can give him a free sex change where the taxpayers pay for it. We won't tolerate him not coming in illegally. So the Biden administration stopped that. Now the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled Texas can do the razor wire. And it's just not academic, because we still got almost, let's see, we all December, little less than 2 months, but we still have about 2 months of the Biden regime in here. And they're trying to sabotage everything they can in the 2 months and bring in all these illegals. So this could be an effective solution for those 2 months. So it's good to see that. And I'm happy. So that is definitely a white pill. So good to see that white pill, good ruling about the border wall. Happy to see that. All right. Let's see here. This is something that they're going to have to look at, and it's been really despicable. And people in the Biden administration should go to jail for this. Elon asked, did you know that 30 tech founders were actually secretly debanked? And that happened. Andrew Torba, I think his name is, the guy that founded Gab. The government worked with the banks to try to deplatform these people so you can't even have a checking account. Horrible. Anyone in the government that did that, they need to be arrested. The bank shouldn't do that. They shouldn't discriminate based on your political opinions. The bank leaders, they should be arrested. This is outrageous. And confirm this is true. It was one of the most unethical and un-American things that happened in the Biden administration. And my guess will find Elizabeth Warren's fingerprints all over it. Biden himself was probably unaware. Biden doesn't know what's happening. But if Elizabeth Warren did this, this is a violation of the First Amendment and our civil rights. She needs to be prosecuted and go to prison for a long time. We're still collecting documents versus the FOIA, that means Freedom of Information Act request. So hopefully the full story emerges of who was involved and whether they broke any laws. Again, any leaders, let's say a Bank of America or PayPal that engaged in this activity, they need to face criminal prosecution and civil prosecution where they give damages to people like Andrew Torba. They need to give him millions of dollars of damages. Warren and Gensler tried to unlawfully kill our entire industry, and it was a major factor in the Dems losing the elections. The Democratic Party should realize Warren is a liability and further distance themselves if they have any hope of rebuilding. Well, the Democrats, they didn't like tech platforms that allow Americans to speak freely. Again, they want to censor people. So that is what happened. So it's despicable. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen, targeting individual Americans. The censorship industry is horrible. It's anti-American. Any tech leader that does this or political leader, they need to face jail time. Oh, I got a power chat. Thank you, Damian Thorne. I thank you. It's been kind of slow. I appreciate this. $3. Did you hear about the Trump nominees getting swatted and stuff? Yeah, they're trying to intimidate a lot of the nominees. I'm going to be covering that. But that's not going to work. There has been a lot of intimidation on that. I once got swatted. Did you guys know that? I did. It was like a failed swat, though. I felt bad because what happened, I used to live in Oklahoma and I moved here in Arkansas. And then for whatever reason, someone swatted. Well, what happened? I got a call from the police in Oklahoma in the Tulsa area. I won't say the city. This is a suburb. And they said, did you used to live at this house? And I'm like, yeah, that was my old address like 5 years ago. And they said, oh, and I said, is everything okay? What's the deal? It was the local police called me. And they go, oh, no, that's okay. We just, your house was swatted. And they were claiming you were in the house trying to kill people or something. That's what they do. And I'm like, no, I'm here in Arkansas now. I haven't been there in years. And they're like, oh, okay, thank you. So this happens. They caught one of the guys that did a lot of the swatting. I don't know if it was the guy that did mine, but he's facing like 20, 30 years in prison. And I think people that do this should get like a 30-year prison sentence. It's very dangerous what they're doing, and fuck them. I like to see these people taken down. So, yeah, swatting is something we need to eliminate. And it's not that hard to eliminate because what they're counting on is they get the term SWAT because special weapons and tactics. So if you say there's like a hostage situation, the police show up with all their, rifles and body armor. And then they're hoping that you'll come out like, hey, what's going on? And they'll be trigger happy and kill you, right? So it's actually an attempted murder. So these fucks that do this, I wouldn't give a fuck if they swung from their neck. I'd laugh. So I would be happy to see them hanging from a tree. Fuck them, swatters. And I'd be cheering it on. So, but this is what they're doing. But how you get rid of this situation is police, and I think they're getting better at this. They're starting to learn this tactic. And they're starting to get technology, even if the swatter uses VPN, because a lot of the feds, they can even break that, can check where it's coming from. And then also you just don't react. You call the place first, the home first, and you just start to verify what's happening. And you just send like an officer out, not the whole team out, until you realize, is this a real thing? And then once they know, they call swatting over and over. The police departments, they don't react that way anymore. I think Tim Pool was swatted many times, and the people in Texas, the Texas police were aware of it. Ethan Ralph, that happened to him, and the local police got aware of it. So, yeah, they're trying that tactic with, I guess, some of the nominations. So, in a way, it's good because it's going to emphasize the problem. I would like to see the Department of Justice go after these swatters. I would like to see a death penalty for these swatters. I would like to change how the police respond to this sort of thing. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing. All right, I'm going to go back to another white pill here, though. And because I've been more in white pills lately. I don't know if you guys get tired of white pills. I know the black pills sell better, but it's good to see white pills here sometimes, too. Sometimes there's negative stuff, and as I was talking about, I think the whole DEI thing is really jumped the shark. And this was a mentions of DEI or diversity, equity, inclusion in quarterly earning calls. These are corporations. So this is something that has really, let's see, this is Q1 of 2020 through Q4 of 2024. Okay. So it starts in 2020, and there was like basically nothing of it. Then George Floyd happened. Oh, all the poor blacks are being killed for no reason. It's like, yeah, no, it's a reason. And then so they just went crazy with it. But if you look at this year, it's really died off. The slope is down. So I do think we're getting better at managing this and getting rid of this. So that is good news. Good to see. And talking about the intimidation of people's, I think one of the people they're trying to intimidate is Tom Homan, who is the new border czar. He's that tough looking guy. Speaking of mafia, he looks like he's in the mob. He just has one of those tough guy looks about him. And he's not going to be intimidated. He'd kick your ass. So let's listen to this.
Border czar Tom Homan tells us that he has been the target
Tom Homan.
of death threats since taking on, accepting the new role under President-elect Trump. He joins us now. Tom, couple of things. Not had the chance to congratulate you on your appointment, your nomination. So my heartfelt congratulations to you. Second of all, I'm so sorry to hear that you and your family are going through this.
Well, death threats, I get them. I mean, that just happens when you're public.
What's your preliminary response to hearing that it's not unique to you? Other senior incoming officials are also facing threats today.
Well, first of all, I appreciate what Nicole just said, but I'll be honest with you, I have not taken it serious up to this point. Now that I know what's happening the last 24 hours, I will take it a little more serious. But look, I've been dealing with this when I was the ICE director in the first administration. I had numerous death threats. I had a security detail with me all the time. Even after I retired, the death threats continued. And even after I retired as the ICE director, I had U.S. Marshals protection for a long time to protect me and my family. And what doesn't help is all the negative press around the president and people he's putting in his cabinet. Me, I'm not in the cabinet, but, I've read numerous hit pieces on me. I'm a racist and, I'm the father of family separation, all this other stuff. So the hate media doesn't help at all because there are some nuts out there that will take advantage. So.
Well, and I think that might have been some of the assassination attempts on Trump. Because if you make a narrative that everyone you don't like is Hitler, and Hitler is the most evil person in the world, and if you could go back in a time machine and kill baby Hitler, you got to do it. That'd be evil to do. Even Ted Cruz, you got to do it. So that gives these people that are midwits or, easily, they could put this together. Well, wait a minute. So Trump is Hitler. And we have the moral obligation, we would have, to kill even baby Hitler, then I therefore have a moral obligation to attempt to kill President Trump. I got to be careful how I said that because they'll clip that. I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm just saying that's the logic of some of these demented people. That's how the media, by the way, how they get you in trouble. They clip things out of context. So no, I was saying in context, this is about psychos thing. And so this is a problem when you use over-the-top hyperbole on everything.
That doesn't help. And I thought we're beyond that after the election's over, that we're going to get beyond that. But, I will now start taking a little more serious after I just heard what's happened the last 24 hours. Up to that point, I was the attitude that if I'm not home, my family's not home. And they're not home right now, but when I return home, I'm going to bring them home. But I was up the attitude lately that if you want some, come get some. Because, I've been through this many, many times. And, but again, what I've learned today, I'll start taking a little more serious.
Do you think that there's a role you can play once you're in position and come January 20th? Do you think there's a role that you can play with your leadership and seniority in the second term of President Trump's administration that can help to sort of bring an end to these kinds of threats?
Well, you can end them if you're on the right and you make these type of threats. So let's say if I were to make a death threat against a black congressman, I would probably face 20 years in prison. And the FBI, they would be raiding my house at 4 a.m. There'd be a helicopter in my house. They would shoot poor Button, and then they would drag me out, right? And 20 years in prison. And if we did that to the left the same way, like the people that made these threats, if they got a raid like that, that would quickly end these threats.
That we've been seeing now, as you mentioned, against Republican officials and Democratic officials.
Well, I think the first role is not to be intimidated. I'm not going to be intimidated by these people. They're not going to silence me. Look, I'm going to do this job. I want to do this job because it's an issue of national security. So you're not going to shut me up. I'm not going away, and I'm going to do this job, and I'm going to continue talking to the American people why it needs to be done.
That's an important point. And I've tried to do that in my life. It's like, no, I'm going to do what's right. I'm an American. I have a free speech. Fuck you. If you're telling me I can't go to a certain conference or I can't use my constitutional right, fuck you. My relatives, they fought in the Revolutionary War and all the wars. So go fuck yourself. We gotta have that attitude to these people. And then we got to push at these people that do this sort of thing, get very tough penalties. And whether they're swatting or doing death threats, they need to be treated like just the same like I would be treated if I made such a threat. So yeah, I would like to see that. All right, let's see here. Let's see if I got any rants here. I don't want to miss any here. Okay. If you have any comments or questions, you can send a rant, or YouTube has super chats. Let me check, see if I got super chats here. Oh, I do got a super chat. Thank you. Ryan, people put all those Ukraine flags to virtue signal for the fact we went to war via proxy for fucking minerals. When will people learn? Yeah, you would think. Weren't the liberals, remember during the Bush years? Oh, no war for oil. It really wasn't a war for oil because they were willing to sell us oil. It was a war for Israel, but whatever. And yeah, these same liberals say, oh, so you support a war for minerals? How about no war for minerals? That's a great point, Ryan. It's just ridiculous. Now, to be fair, I always thought that Ukrainian flag thing, like, I remember initially Biden said in his State of the Union address a few years ago, you go look across America, it's festooned with Ukrainian flags. And I'm like, really? Even when I went to Fayetteville, which is a shit-lib city, I don't know if I hardly saw one Ukrainian flag. Saw at the time in 2020, you had the whole Black Lives Matter terrorist flag up. And you had the homosexual flag you had up. There may be still some of those. Now, where I live, we put up a different flag, right? We put up the Confederate battle flag you see flying around here. So, yeah, it is kind of dumb. But I didn't really, I don't know if you guys, where you live, did you really see a lot of Ukrainian flags? I never did. I did see, again, if you go to Eureka Springs, which is kind of a liberal, artsy, small town, it's a beautiful town, though, in Arkansas, you'll see a lot of homosexual flags. You'll see them in Fayetteville. You don't see them anywhere else, so. Mostly you just see American flags. There were a lot of Trump signs up. They're kind of, now, the election's over. And you will see some Confederate battle flags up, like at my place. But yeah, in general, I didn't see Ukrainian flags. Maybe other places in the country where you guys lived, there was more of that. Bobby Tate, posting my support for you under a pseudonym name from my friend. I'm in the UK and Big Brother is watching. Well, God bless you. I really feel sorry for people in the UK, just what you're going through. You're really in a police state. People get arrested for anything there now. And just so you guys know, my UK viewers, I appreciate you. I really do. And I'm hard sometimes on people like the English or the Scottish because they're like family to me. That's my heritage. That's, Ramsey is a Scottish name. Sasha, her maiden name was Scottish. It's that's our heritage, and I have a lot of English in me, and my grandmother was a Jones. I believe that's Welsh, right? So I mean, we come from the British Isles, like a lot of Americans, that pioneers, and I really admire the British and everything they did in this world. It's just sad to see where they are now, but for the grace of God and the Constitution, we could be there too. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. That is, I appreciate that. If more people took a stand like that in Britain, things would be different. So, yeah, there we go. Let's see here. There's another thing. The Dems are floating a plan. I haven't listened to this, but I will probably support this. So. And now I'm getting all these like dog food commercials on YouTube. And if you guys notice, it's really amazing how, because when I got home, we saw the husky, and I also saw a mountain cur dog, and I was doing some searches on those dog breeds on the computer. Now I'm getting a ton of dog food commercials. It's amazing how they pick up on that using cookies, and YouTube then will give you, they give you commercials based on your browsing history. And it's funny because years ago, I had a guy once get real mad at me. Oh, this is probably 10 years ago. And he said, "Oh, Paul, I hate it. Whenever I get ads on your videos, they're all about homosexual stuff. What's your problem with you?" And I had to say, dude, it's based on your browsing history, not mine. So, yeah. All right. So anyway, I got a lot of, I'll get a lot of now dog commercials. That's okay. I like dog commercials.
Radical ideas to counter the Trump administration appear to be gaining traction among some.
Boy, what is this? Is this some trans person, or is this a woman, or like a fat guy that's pretending to be a woman? I don't know, but I do know it's pretty fucking ugly. That's a sorry state when you start to look like that.
Some Democrats. One New York
looks like Humpty Dumpty.
State senator is even.
Oh my God, this is just getting worse.
Floating the idea of having New York withhold federal taxes, and then the Empire.
This looks like a bunch of postmenopausal hags out there that eat too much. I bet these women are on the sex strike. They're on the sex strike. I can bet you that.
States seceding to join Canada.
Seceding to join Canada. I'm for that. I'm for secession. I actually, non-ironically, I think we should restructure America a little bit. I think we should get rid of Hawaii. I have nothing against Hawaiians. I had a Japanese guy. He was part of my roundtable. By the way, if you're not part of my Gumroad, sign up. A lot of fun. We have roundtables every week. Nice guy. But Hawaii, I think he'd probably agree, probably shouldn't be part of the United States. They don't even consider themselves part of the United States. They need to be free. So I'm not hurting them, but just set them free. And that way we'd have 2 fewer Democratic senators, so that'd be good. And Puerto Rico, that should be set free too. I would keep Alaska. If Greenland's for sale, I'd buy Greenland. New York, you could convince me. You could convince me to get rid of New York. I think most of New York is okay. Maybe we could send New York City to Canada.
Senior correspondent Eric Shawn is.
Little trivia, we almost had Canada as part of the United States, but George Washington incursion into Canada was a disaster. It happened during winter and they weren't prepared.
Live with more. There's about as much chance of that as a pink unicorn leading the Thanksgiving Day parade tomorrow.
Hey, hello, John. Good morning. Well, it's a defiant plan against President-elect Trump's mass deportation plan. Succeed and join our neighbor to the north. That is exactly what Manhattan Liberal Democrat State Senator Liz Cruz.
Why do we have people like this in government? I mean, maybe she's qualified to be like the school lunch lady, right? That's what I'm looking at her. Okay, maybe she could be the lady serving mashed potatoes to children. She doesn't qualify. I could just tell by looking at her, she doesn't qualify for anything else. She wouldn't be able to understand most of the things I talk about. She has no knowledge of history. Yeah.
Kruger is proposing that the Empire State and fellow blue northeastern states leave the U.S. and join Canada to protest Trump's plan. She said this back in September before.
I kind of supported the South breaking away from the Union. So I guess I got to be consistent. If they want that, I don't have a problem with them leaving. That wouldn't be it. If New York left, it would definitely secure the presidency for the Republicans for a long time. I kind of like this plan. I know she's stupid, but I'm warming up to this plan. And then all the New Yorkers, they can get that MAID health treatment. They can all kill themselves. I like it.
Quote, instead of us all trying to illegally cross the border at night without them noticing, which is pretty hard because there's lots of us, that they should instead agree to let us be the Southeast province, a new province of Canada. New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont would combine and be a great new province as the Southeast province of Canada.
Or they could go back to Britain. Why not? Because they were originally colonies, right, of Britain. And that was illegal. Oh, that was insurrection. We did an insurrection against the British. So yeah, maybe the Britain can have them back. King Charles, King George we broke away from, and King Charles can bring him back.
Basically, everybody in these states are progressive Democrats who would fit in pretty well with the political philosophy of at least most of the Canadian elected officials.
Excellent. Head up there then.
Well, in a new interview with Politico, State Senator Kruger, who chairs the powerful State Senate Finance Committee.
God, what the hell is going on here with this woman? Man, I don't want to pick on people on looks, but Jesus.
Also says that her state and the others should stop sending tax money to the federal government as part of their protest. New York State's controller.
What she needs to do is go on a hunger strike. She should go on a hunger strike. She could go on a hunger strike and she would still be alive at the end of Trump's term, though.
Says that the Empire State sends more than $361 billion a year, or provides 6.5% of the whole federal budget. But incoming Trump border czar Tom Homan says nothing will stop them.
So those people who say they're going to stop us from what they're doing, they will not. I'm going to do this job. Men and women of ICE are going to do this job. You're not going to stop us. But let me give you a word of advice. If you impede us, there's going to be consequences. You cannot help us.
Well, I talked to State Senator Kruger's office this morning to request an interview, but so far, John, we have not heard back. Back to you.
I might be mistaken, but the amount of money that New York State sends to the federal government is about the totality of Canada's budget, I think. Eric, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. It's an idea. She could go up there and do her thing. So yeah, go to Canada. Go to Canada. Or Britain. I think Britain should get their colonies back. There you go. Actually, some of those states are probably pretty nice. I don't think they want to go away. But hey, it gets the idea of secession. Actually, I joke about this, but as this starts to get a more mainstream, it used to start just people on the right saying, hey, we need to form our own homelands. Maybe America needs to break apart. Ah, you racist! Ah! And now the left is starting to talk about this. And when everyone starts talking about it, it could happen in the future, which kind of makes sense. It doesn't make sense to be part of a country where you have nothing to value. You don't have common values. So, yeah, let them do their Canadian poverty thing, you know, ship in a bunch of Indians and what else? What else do they do in Canada? I'm not sure anymore. They pay a lot of taxes. And they have those suicide machines. I don't know. That's what they could do up there. Okay. Let's just take a look. What else is here? Hope you guys, thank you so much for being here on your Thanksgiving Eve night. I want to thank you all. I think hopefully a lot of you are off tomorrow. Most of Americans do. And if you're overseas, I have a lot of people like in Canada. I love Canadians too, by the way. That's my probably second biggest viewers. I've been up there. I actually gave a speech in Canada. I know a doctor friend, love her to death. She's great. And there's a lot of great Canadians I really love. So I do love Canadians, but it's sad what's really happened to their country. We're facing a similar thing in the United States, but I think it's worse in Canada, how they've been replaced. They've lost their country. So, I do have foreign viewers, and so not all of you have Thanksgiving. I guess you're not a thankful people. We're a thankful people. When the pilgrims came, we gave a feast of thanks to God. So that's what we're going to do. And we give a feast of thanks and watch football. I probably won't be doing that, but thank you for being here. I hope you got all your stuff. Traditionally, in my family, how we did, I don't know what you guys do, but when I was a kid growing up, we would have turkey for Thanksgiving, and which was good. Well, I have to be honest. I think turkey is one of my least favorite meats. I mean, it's okay. It's just sort of, it's like drinking water. It's not bad, but it's not really good. It's kind of just turkey, right? But then you would have like turkey for, so during lunch we'd have turkey, then leftovers, then like next few days leftover or turkey variations. So I eventually got sick of that. I actually at Thanksgiving, I think my favorite, I love stuffing. I love mashed potatoes and gravy. I love pumpkin pie with whipped cream. My Ma used to make these, what do you call those? Sweet potatoes, but with like marshmallows on it. Oh, and brown sugar. Oh, that was so good. So good. Now I'm in the mood for all that now. So I really like the other stuff than the turkey. The turkey's like, it's okay though. And we actually got a free turkey by someone that Sasha works with. She's been here at our house we had a game night party. Sweet lady, thank you. And they had some extra turkey, so we got it all ready. All we have to do is heat it up. It's all ready to go because it's already been cooked. So that will be good. So yeah, Thanksgiving is a good day. Thank you guys for being here. It's kind of the day everyone eats a lot. And then as tradition, that's after Thanksgiving, I make a rule. I don't really celebrate Christmas until after Thanksgiving. So tomorrow we're going to put up the tree and get that all set up. It's in the attic now, so I got to pull that down and all our decorations. So it's a lot of fun. In the future, once Sasha moves in, we're probably going to spend more time, decorating the house and stuff. But but no one drives by our house because you have to go down this country road that ends in nowhere. Otherwise, you'll literally go off into a field. So it's we're like in the middle of nowhere, but it's fun. So we start that after Thanksgiving, getting ready for Christmas, and then Friday is the Black Friday. A lot of people buy. Every year I tell myself I'm going to do my Christmas shopping early, but I never do. I always procrastinate. So I got to do it earlier this time, and I'll give people my list. So I love this time of year, though. Then you get into New Year's, it's fun, and then you have January, and January sucks. So I'm enjoying this as it happens now. All right, let's see. Here's some other stuff. God of War co-creator blames YouTube grifters. Everyone on YouTube's a grifter for Dragon Age Veilguard failure, calling them assholes. I've been acquaintances with David Jaffe and appeared on his shows, but he suddenly blocked me with no word. How can he tell the story if he's living in the bubble? Did YouTube grifters kill Dragon Age? I think so. I mean, EA shouldn't have seen it coming and been ready, but yeah, if they didn't pull the trigger on this title, they sure the shit loaded the gun. Assholes, let's discuss. Well, see, what happened here, and this is some non-binary thing. I didn't play the game, but I showed a lot of the clips from the game where you get a lecture. This thing, I don't know if it's male or female, some sort of demon, gives you a whole lecture you have to go through about how she or he or they, oh no, it's they. It uses this weird pronouns and some sort of sexual deviant. When people, they play these type of games, they want to be heroes and kill the dragon, save the princess. They don't want a LGBTQ theory lecture. And this Dragon Age thing, Dragon Age, it was a bunch of LGBTQ bullshit propaganda, and that's not flying anymore. People are tired of it, so the game failed. And then they spent a lot of money in it. Probably what happened is when they started development on the game, it was like peak, it probably takes years to develop these games. So maybe they started when peak wokeness and I know, let's have some demon character that gives a lecture about pronouns and queer theory. And it's like, we don't want that. We don't want that in a game, right? Why did we have to get this in a game? But no, we got to put it in. So that destroyed it. So I'm not really surprised about that. All right. Now, not everyone is... I've said that Europe and Canada, especially Europe, is always a few years behind America. We kind of set the trail, and then Europe follows us on trends. Like the woke trend, we kind of started that first, then Europe started to follow us. And now it's going away here in America, but Europe hasn't really got the memo yet, but they will. And while all these American companies are ditching DEI, Ferrari, remember they had that ad with black transgender weirdos trying to sell their Jaguar. And we proudly reaffirm our commitment to equality, equity, and inclusion by endorsing the new diversity and inclusion charter alongside F1 and FIA through encouraging education, breaking biases, ensuring transparency. We even creating a more inclusive industry. All the buzzwords, right? All the buzzwords. It comes down to, okay, you're anti-white, you're promoting sodomy. We get it. So they are still stuck on that. As I said, I don't know if it will hurt Ferrari as much as Bud Light. Bud Light really killed them because Bud Light drinkers don't want some homosexual twink, dressing up like a woman. Doesn't really fly with that demographic. And that kind of broke everything. Whereas Ferraris, people are pretty well to do to have one. And maybe in their kind of gay circles, that gives them some virtue signaling points. I don't know. But that is what they did there. All right. Not that I'm going to ever get a Ferrari, but it'd be nice. Sasha's like fantasy car is a Corvette. And she asked me my fantasy car, and I'm like, just some 4-wheel drive truck, really, where I live. That'd be good. I've never been like a huge car guy. I know a lot of people are, so if you are, don't let me offend you. I just like cars for practical reasons. Does it get me to point A to point B in comfort? And I like some of the new gadgets they have on cars. That's pretty cool. But I've never been really my whole life, I've never really cared about what other people think of me based on the products I buy or wear. Even when I was a kid in high school, and that was in the 80s. I graduated in 1981, so late 70s, early 80s. There was a big to-do about what type of tennis shoe you would wear, what type of jeans and all that. Even back then, I didn't give a shit. I think women care more about that. I never cared. And I don't really care if the car I drive is cool or not. If it's practical and it works well, reliable, that's what I want. I like all-wheel drive vehicles so I can get through the snow. But I don't really care about impressing, because if people were impressed with me based on what I wore or what I drove, those are the people I wouldn't want to be around anyway, really. So I'm not saying this acting like I'm better than anyone. I just don't really care about trying to impress people with various things. That's like I don't wear a watch because you have the phone now, right? And like I have an iPhone, but I don't have an Apple. I just have the Apple because that's the first one I got years ago, and I'm used to it. I'm not doing it trying to impress people or anything. I know a lot of people, the hipsters. Oh, you got to have the certain thing, or oh, you got to drink these certain craft beers. I couldn't imagine being a slave to what other people think, and based on what they think determines what you have to wear, what kind of car you have to drive, what kind of phone you have, what kind of beer you're supposed to drink. I just can't imagine that. I just can't imagine being that way. I'm like, go fuck yourself. I don't care. But whatever. So I'm not sure what I was on, but I guess, cars. Yeah. So Ferraris, I think back in the day, they're kind of cool cars, but I think they're expensive to maintain too. They used to have a reputation of having a lot of repairs and always in the shop. I don't know if that's still the case, but I'd rather have a reliable truck or something, that's kind of practical and get around, 4-wheel drive. That's me though. Carrie Cox, immigrants from parts of Europe don't necessarily celebrate Thanksgiving. Example, this week I've been told of Mexican and Korean families who don't celebrate the holidays. Yeah, I don't know if immigrants will celebrate our holidays. It's another reason we don't need immigration. We need these holidays to bind us together. And a lot of these people don't belong in America, not because they're necessarily bad people, but they're not our people. They should do their things in their homelands, whatever traditions they have. So thank you for that, Carrie. That was nice. And let's see here. Let's see here. I'm just going through my super chats. I just want to on my. Okay, I think I got everything there on those. I always feel bad if I ever miss a chat. Just send me an email at ramzpaul@gmail.com and I will get it the next day. All right, we got some other stuff. This is about the whole climate change nonsense. I heard like Western United States is having record cold weather too this week. Greenland's surface temperature falls for 20 years in further blow to climate alarm narrative. So the Greenland surface temperature has been falling for 20 years. So it's not warming. It's actually getting colder in Greenland now. Well, shit, I would like to buy Greenland still. Be beautiful Trump Towers there. Yeah, the whole climate change thing is, I agree with Trump, is somewhat a scam. Not that climates don't change. Of course they changed. I mean, even before humans existed, climates changed. So it's kind of a little trick they do. I do not deny that climates changed long term. I mean, millions of years ago, this was probably tropical where I am now. Or even relatively short term, let's say 10,000 years ago, we had glaciers over everything. They started to recede then. But even, within hundreds of years, sometimes we have hot periods or cold periods. So what happens whenever we have a cold period during the 70s, they start screaming about ice age returning, global cooling. And then I think the 90s were kind of hot. And so that the 1930s were hot too, but they kind of forgot that. And the 1990s were sort of hot. So they started all this global warming. Then they rebranded it to climate change, because that way you got all your bases covered, right? If it's hotter than usual, you can say, it's global warming. If it's a little bit less than usual, it's climate change. Here, I follow the weather. It's kind of a hobby of mine. I always track it. We're kind of normal right now here in Arkansas this time of year. It's cold, but it's not super cold. It gets really cold in January here, though. But it's okay. We'll probably be in the 50s tomorrow. That's like normal. So we're going to be below freezing tonight. So put on the heater a little bit. Got the space heater to keep things warm. So I think that is fine there. And let's see here. I found this funny, and I like Ethan Ralph. I've been on his show, so I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this to make fun of him, but it is kind of funny what he did here. I put this under miscellaneous, like internet drama. I'm not a drama show, but Ethan Ralph, he went to Minnesota. Ricada, who I don't even know really who that guy is. He used to do law commentary. I guess he made tons of money on YouTube. He's one of the best streamers. I don't know, made $1 million probably streaming. Be nice. But then he just went kind of crazy, and the cocaine allegation and some child abuse, and he's in some sort of swinger relationship. So everything kind of fell apart, and there was lawsuits, and Ethan Ralph went up there to to be there at the court case, and then the court said you can't use any video taping of this. And of course, Ethan Ralph violated the judge's instruction and did it anyway, because that's how Ethan runs. And because of that, he got a contempt charge. So now there's a warrant out for his arrest, and he lives in Mexico. So if he wants to come back to see his son in California, there's a good chance that the border security, they'll, bring up his passport and say, oh, well, you got a warrant out for your arrest in Minnesota. And he thought, well, they won't take me there because it's too expensive. But his lawyer told him, no, what will happen is they'll take you there and then charge you, however much it cost us to send you there, like $40,000 to have like a marshal be there. So he's upset about that. So he wrote the court, and you probably can't see this here, but it's hilarious. He basically told the court, hey, can you just eliminate that warrant? Because it's not really convenient for me because I want to see my kid and I don't want to be arrested. Maybe we just could do a session online and I promise I will show up. It's just so hilarious that like that's a, someone would really ask for that. I mean, what is he thinking? Like, okay, Ethan, okay, we'll quash the warrant. Well, he got results. Request to quash the warrant is denied, all caps. So yeah, he's got to. What Ethan should do is just fly up to Minnesota and face the piper. He probably won't get jail time. If he just went up there, he'll probably get a fine. But yeah. See, that's why poor Ethan. There's some people, we know someone personally too, and won't say his name. I don't think he watches, or Sasha knew him for years. But this is the guy that no matter what, he's always gets in trouble, right? So he could go to a restaurant, end up getting arrested. And it's never his fault, but wherever he goes everywhere, he gets in trouble and arrested or whatever. I'm like, yeah, maybe it's your fault. Ethan's a little bit like that. So anyway, I hope he's okay. I kind of feel bad for him in a way. And I've been on his show, but he's always had troubles legally because he's told not to do something and he does it. And, it's just crazy. All right. I got I think I saw this. This was a parody. AI did this. So this is about Mexico, the president of Mexico. I don't know if you guys saw this parody. It's pretty funny. It's kind of the night before Thanksgiving, so we'll just kind of keep it low-key tonight. Here we go.
I did not want to say anything about President Trump before the election. But now that he got elected, I get to tell the Mexican people what I really think about President Trump. President Trump is a very unique man. He is a big, sexy man. And he does this sexy Trump dance where he shakes his big booty. And he looks absolutely handsome and beautiful. Look at that sexy beast. Oh my God, he is so sexy. Mucho caliente. Yes, keep moving it. Muévelo, papi. Move that big booty for President Claudia. Anyway, I really don't care about the 25% tariffs. If he wants to tariff me, he can tariff me all night long. Tariff me harder, papi. I didn't.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, that was great. All right, and then we'll end with a cute dog video. So this is a dog meets a puppy. Oh. I probably shouldn't play the music. I'll probably have to. Yeah, I won't get a strike. But YouTube said, "Oh, you can't play music. We'll have to demonetize it." Yeah, it's already demonetized. Oh, little puppy. That is so cute. So, did this here. All right. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. I probably will have a show tomorrow. I plan to have the show tomorrow. One night this week we may do Night Owls, and maybe tomorrow. I think Sasha's going back tomorrow. We'll see. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it, and thank you for all that sent in super chats and rants and all that good stuff. I really do appreciate that. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.